photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.
Good afternoon and welcome to the judging of the 18th category of the 2025 Australian Photographic Prize. We are judging the documentary category. Thank you for joining us from wherever you are, and we hope that you enjoy seeing some incredible documentary images judged today. My name is Robin Campbell. I'm the founding director of the Australian Photographic Prize. I'm here today on behalf of our 2025 competition director, Daniel Bingham, and director of judging, Chris Anderson. Special thanks also to Nathan, who's running our live stream, and Helen, our scribe. In Australia, when we open events like this, we do it with an acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which this event is hosted today. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. We'd like to send a huge shout out to our amazing sponsors. Our major sponsor, Nikon Australia. Thank you so much for yet again joining to support us. They are giving our overall winner $5,000 in Nikon gear. Thank you so much to the whole Nikon team, Julie, Kylie, everyone. We really appreciate your ongoing support. Special thanks also to our amazing division sponsors. AZO is supporting the 2025 Creative Photographer of the Year with a monitor valued at over $2,500. KL and Godox are sponsoring the Classic division, and Ilford is sponsoring the Single Capture division. Thank you also to Photography Studies College, who are offering a $1,500 scholarship to our High School Photographer of the Year, and Print Shop. We deeply appreciate your contribution of a print consultation and 2 A1 prints valued at $500 for our Student of the Year. Please take a moment to visit their websites, go to Facebook, tag them where you can, and hey, even buy their products. They would really appreciate that. So here's how the judging will run for this session. Each finalist image will be assessed by our live panel of expert judges with real-time commentary, insights, and challenges. Scores will be displayed on screen, and at the end, the judges will deliberate off-panel to determine the top 3 place getters. Now we have our live awards presentation tomorrow from 5 p.m, so not long to wait now, where you will get to find out who has taken first, second, third division and overall winners. So be there to check it out. Before we start our category, we're going to do a run through of the top 30 documentary finalists. However, there is a trigger warning for infant lost. So some of this content contains prematurely born baby, which has passed away. So it may be deeply distressing for some of our viewers, and we ask you to please view with care and discretion. Over to you, Nathan. I now have the honour of introducing our panel mentor for this category, Chris Anderson. Chris is our Director of Judging and is a wonderful panel mentor. He has been recognised all over the world as a judge and also as an incredible photographer. He was recently awarded the 2025 Asia Pacific Photography Awards overall Grand Champion. How cool is that? Over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the documentary category for the Australian Photographic Prize. I hope you have been loving the judging for the last bunch of categories. Only this one and one more to go, and then we're finished. It's been so spectacular, and we have an amazing category for you today. So I'm going to talk really briefly about the documentary category. So documentary category rules: single capture images showing an authentic visual representation of events, such as sport, daily life, newsworthy incidents, parties, births, funerals, and other significant life events. Images should not be staged, contrived, or manipulated to alter the truth. Images of weddings or wedding-related events may be better suited to the wedding category. Now, these are also part of our single capture division, which celebrates truly authentic photography. Very minimal rules about, or minimal things you can do editing-wise. So if you want to consult the rules on the website, you can. But the images you're looking at should be fairly true to life. We do allow cropping, color and brightness adjustments, monochrome conversions, dodging and burning, removal of dust spots, and other in-camera elements, digital noise and film scratches and things like that. Now, we have such a spectacular judging panel for you today. First of all, we're going to send our best wishes to Ben Liu, who wasn't able to join us today. So Ben, we're thinking about you, and we'll be doing our best to do our best judging on your behalf. We have Christopher Ian. Christopher has been an absolute stalwart of awards. He's been around the APA AIPP judging since 1981. Now, Christopher's work spans many portfolios: portraiture, landscape, scientific, family, documentary, of course, and travel. One of the things you'll notice about Christopher when he's doing his critique of images is he has such a rich knowledge of photographic history. He infuses his critique with that, which really helps entrants understand how their work connects into the broader sphere of photography. So, Christopher, it's so good to have you on the panel. Welcome. We've got Emily Black, who's a photojournalist and a longtime photography judge. She's got 20 years of experience behind the camera. She's works in many genres, as a lot of our photographers do. She's got such a strong sense of visual storytelling and composition and emotional depth. As a judge, she's so experienced that she was Australia's judge for the World Photographic Cup in 2024, which is pretty amazing. And she's an accomplished endurance athlete, which is really good because some of our category judging has been going for a long time. So we're going to need that today, Emily. Excellent to have you here. We've got Gerard Burkhart here. Now, Gerard is an LA-based photojournalist and educator, and it's really special to have you here, Gerard. His career has spanned decades, and it's multiple Pulitzer Prize winning newsrooms. So he's had work in the Los Angeles Times, the New York Times, Agence France Presse. You know, I butchered that. I apologize. And covering all kinds of things from news events and sports, travel, documentary. He's had photographs published in 3 Pulitzer Prize winning editions of the LA Times, including the 1992 LA riots, the 1994 Northridge earthquake, and the 1997 North Hollywood bank shootout. So if you're looking for a documentary photographer, we have the real deal here. Gerard, welcome. It's excellent to have you here. Now we've got Kat Ferguson next. Kat's a Melbourne-based journalist and photographer. She's had 17 plus years in the industry. She's such a good storyteller and image maker with clarity of thought and emotion. And her voice in her photos is really clear. And her voice in her judging is really clear. She's got a really clear thought process, and you're going to enjoy that today. Among her other many accomplishments, she's an Imagen ambassador. She's a product content writer for PicTime, and she runs a blog and newsletter called Photo Geek, which is specifically for photographers in business, and it's worth checking out. So thanks, Katrina. Excellent to have you on the panel. We've got Lisa Kurtz. Lisa is a Meanjin, Brisbane-based photo and video artist, and she's got a background in fine art. She's got over 10 years of experience in this area, and her thing is to weave together personal and collective histories. So she's been a finalist in so many competitions, and if you've ever entered an art prize, you know how prestigious it is just to be a finalist. The Olive Cotton Award, the Percival Photographic Portrait Prize, Head On, the Clip Award. She's had a commission at the Judith Wright Art Center here in Brisbane for location, 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 and she's a lecturer in contemporary photo media at Central Queensland University. So Lisa, awesome, awesome to have you on the panel. We've got Mark Zed. So Mark is a South Australian-based commercial and advertising photographer, and he enjoys teaching and creating works for exhibitions. So his work spans so many different genres. In fact, in South Australia, he's won titles at the South Australian Professional Photography Awards for documentary, commercial, illustrative, and he's been the overall South Australian Professional Photographer of the Year. It's very cool. He's got a permanent exhibition in the Tropenhaus. I'm here to butcher pronunciations all day, everyone, so just go with me. Museum in the Netherlands. So, Mark, super cool to have you here. Last but not least, Mel Sinclair is another Queensland-based photographer from Ipswich. Mel has a fine art sensibility that she brings to her landscapes, and sometimes she has this amazing ability to take quite ordinary scenes and elevate them to be poetic. And a great example of that is an image of hers recently called the Bogans Ballet. In 2024, it won the prestigious Stanthorpe Art Prize. She's part of the management committee for the World Photographic Cup Team Australia. She's volunteered with the Australian Photographic Society, and she mentors new photography judges throughout Queensland. So if you haven't figured it out, we have such a wealth of experience and such a depth of knowledge and great words on the panel today. And you'll be hearing some of those words today. So we're going to step into our judging now with the documentary category. We've got 7 judges. We're going to have 5 of them on at any one time. And our starting panel, we're going to start with Christopher Ian, Kat Ferguson, Lisa Kurtz, Mark Zed, and Mel Sinclair. You're going to be our starting team. And with that, can we get our first image, please? This image has a context statement. All of our entrants in this category are invited to submit a context statement that is read out aloud, and our judges can see it on their screen as well. On this scorcher, Adelaide was the hottest city on earth. The kids stepped back as the poodle stole the show, soaked like a beast unleashed. Scored, Lisa? All right, we have a 79, highly commended. Excellent work for the photographer. Can I get, actually, Lisa, you spent a little bit looking at that image. I know you've got some thoughts. Can I get a comment from you, please?
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, really, really loving the dog. That central placement is really engaging. A couple of areas for consideration, of course, with all these single image and in this category in particular, is there's always the moment. There is always the best moment. And I feel here that the expressions on the kids' faces could have been a little different to perhaps more engage fully with the poodle. And I would encourage the photographer to always pay attention to what the moment is. And particularly because we're not engaged with the scene, we're seeing it with our fresh eyes. So we need some other element, and having the kids more engaged with the poodle would have brought that forward.
Brilliant. That's really good feedback, Lisa. Thank you. Let's have our next image, please. There's no context statement for this one. All right, thank you, judges. We have a score of 81, a silver award, which is an excellent result. Could I go to, actually, let's go to Mel Sinclair for a comment, please.
Yeah, well seen and captured by the photographer. Getting a sport moment like this with that shadow just right in the perfect spot is not an easy thing to do. In terms of any improvement, it's just that bottom left-hand corner that's just a bit too dark. And if there was any way to sort of bring that out a little bit so the foot and the moment of leap off of this player is not lost, would really elevate that.
Awesome. Thanks, Mel. That's really good advice. We're going to keep rotating our judges on and off the panel really quickly today so that everyone's really busy, which means Kat, you get to have you can go have a little tiny short nap. Emily Black, you can come on in. And no napping, Kat. I'm just kidding. Next image, please. And we have a context statement. This whale carcass lay stranded on a beach in Iceland as a tourist explored. Whales are a sensitive subject in Iceland, where whaling is legal. Oh, that's because I didn't change the judges properly, Emily. Apologies. Let's try that again. Sorry, everyone. All right, we have an initial score of 81, a silver award, and Mel Sinclair is waving her hand. Mel, take it away from 86.
Oh my gosh, I would absolutely love to challenge this, and thank you for the opportunity to do so. This is a really amazing piece of documentary photography. The whale here is captured in such a way that it leads our eye through the frame to the mountain. The person in there just provides this wonderful sense of scale, and this elongated whale just takes up and dominates the frame, even though it's not visually beautiful. It is so dominating, and just the sense of scale is just wonderful. I really would like my fellow judges to take a look, another look, and enjoy all the textures that we've been provided, as well as all the negative space that just goes to amplify this found scene.
Thank you, Mel. Mark said you had a little more of a conservative score for this one.
Yeah, look, I'm listening to what you're saying, but for me, the lead through the frame contains too much tension. The closeness of the crop at the bottom to the edge of the beak of the whale there, it's I am led through from that point onwards, but I just feel it's a little bit too tight. And then we go into the balance issue of I'm not too sure where my eye is meant to land on because I'm so heavily led away from the story in this image. So my eye is taken away from the story rather than to the story.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Lisa, we might come to you. You were really close to the average.
Thanks, Chris. Yes, I was sitting in that mid-silver range, and Mel, really keen to come up with you. Mark, I liked the fact that it was very tight crop there. I felt the tension, it made me think about the pain, and it's almost as if, it's a very evocative, and I do keep coming back to it because it's so large in the frame. I'm happy to settle on that because that is the main subject matter. Mel, help me resolve our tourist placement. I feel that they're half, they're not even looking, I don't know what they're doing. They feel very they're neither walking out nor walking in. I don't feel that they're contributing in any way, but I want to hear more about it because I'm happy to join you. I just can't resolve them.
Excellent questions from Lisa. Mel, right of reply, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, I hear your message about the tightness of the crop. I think that the whale's been placed there intentionally to create that tension, just sort of split the image into two halves, one of the beach and one of the expansive sky. I think it does provide that balance in terms of us being able to see all of its details. And I think that's the reason that the photographer has chosen this angle instead of getting higher or lower so as to remove those details from us. Lisa, the tourist, look, I think the tourist's in the right spot. They seem really, not engaged. And I think that's part of the power of the statement of this image is that the fact that they're kind of walking around going, oh, what are you doing? Or it's that sort of indecisive, should I be looking or should I not be looking, like not knowing what that half is. And the two elements together just create this I feel this beautiful tension between death and decay, and how do we honor that and how do we acknowledge that? So I would really love to see my fellow judges coming up and still a distinction with me.
Excellent. Thank you, Mel. You're going to leave your score locked at 86. Other judges, rescore now, please. And we've moved a few points up to 83, a solid silver award. Excellent work, team. It's always really valuable for photographers to hear this kind of discussion. I love the way you guys are approaching this. It's great. Let's have a little bit of a quick team change. So Gerard, you can come on, and Lisa, you can have a little break. And let's have our next image, please. This is a context statement. On the Indonesian island of Sumba, the pony reigns supreme, a cherished emblem of status and cultural heritage. A man leads his ponies with pride. All right, we have an initial score of 81. I suspect we may not stay here very long. Gerard, you're on 87, so we're going to go with the challenge from you. Take it away.
Well, first off, it's such a beautifully composed portrait, and I love the sense of place. The fact that he's brought them into the water. I would have liked to hear a little bit more of an explanation of that in the caption or the statement. But I love the light. I love the way the horses are looking out in two different ways, but they serve to frame the man in the middle. And the cloudiness, the stormy weather that's there. I just love the mood in this photograph. I think it's a really, really effective image, and I think I may have underscored it. So I would encourage my fellow judges to, find it in their hearts to bring it up to a high silver.
All right, thanks, Gerard. Christopher, you saw this a little bit differently.
Yeah, I thought it was disappointing that Jermaine's subjects are really fading into a background. If you drop the camera down to just on water level, now I know there's an element of risk there, but basically the animals would have just appeared above the horizon, the tree line, and the water would have had much more impact, much more input into the image. Also, the man's not quite engaged with what's happening on. He's almost bemused by what's being done, what's being undertaken.
Thanks, Christopher. Mel Sinclair, I might come to you for a comment. You were fairly close to the average.
Yeah, I found this to be a really interesting portrait of this man and his two horses. I think what kept me down on silver at 83 was just the man's expression seems a bit bemused as to why someone's taking his photograph, and that really took me out of the magic of the moment.
All right, thanks, Mel. Gerard, right reply.
Well, I do agree that the lower angle might have isolated all of the action of the horses' heads in the photograph a little bit better. But as a photographer, I think there's a practical problem here. How close can you take your camera to the water line? And I think that may have been influencing the photographer's decision to make it that way. I kind of have a problem with the expression, how we're interpreting that expression in the. I keep calling it the caption because that's what we call them in journalism. But we don't do any editorializing at all because saying that he's proud, we don't know that for a fact, and so it's open to interpretation as to what's actually going on with the subject emotionally. And the only way you can actually know what's inside people's heads is if you have a direct quote from them, which that's not a part of this competition, but it settles the problem of what are they thinking. Otherwise we're just going to interpret things the way we think we see them.
So Gerard, what would you like our judges to do? You're on 87. What are you asking them for?
Oh, I would bring it up into a high silver because I think it's a really powerful portrait, just as is.
Excellent. Thanks, Gerard. You're going to leave your score at 87. Other judges, you may rescore now, please. And we've moved up a point to 82, solid silver award. So good discussion again, as always. Kat, let's bring you back on. I hope you had a good nap. Mark Zed, you're going to have a little break, and we're going to go to our next image, please. Context statement for this one. The big men for the Brisbane Lions and the West Coast Eagles make contact as they contest a center bounce during a match. Okay, we have a starting score of 81. But again, I don't think we're going to stay there very long. Gerard, you're on 90. So
Well,
I think
this photograph does everything a sports photograph's supposed to do. It's peak action that shows incredible athleticism. The ball's close to the action, and the polish that works in every sports photograph is the use of short depth of field. And you could argue that it's a little deeper here than it needs to be, but it does isolate the foreground action from the background in an effective way.
All right, thanks, Gerard. Kat, I might come to you for a comment, please.
Thanks, Chris. With all due respect, I think for the Aussies, we see this particular moment in sport in AFL that it is in. For us, we see this multiple times during a game. These players, this is a moment. These are the ruck players, so this is a moment that is set up by the umpire. The ball bounces always thrown, and then they're taken in. So as a photographer, you have the chance to well and truly, frame and get ready for this moment. So look, it's on silver. I'm really comfortable with it there. I'm listening to if anyone else has something else that they can help elevate this image beyond a silver. It's nicely framed, nice colors, a nice moment, but for me, it's not up in the gold range.
All right, thanks, Kat. Christopher, you're pretty close to the average on this one.
Yeah, as opposed to a newspaper photo, which is descriptive and telling you what's happening, if it had more grass foreground, so the leap was much more of a bigger input into the image, I'd actually go up a category because it is capturing the moment, but it's just that they're floating there. We need more grass anchoring the height that they've reached.
All right, thanks, Christopher. And Gerard, a right of reply from you, please.
Well, I didn't know that about this kind of photograph. We hear this from a lot of photographers, even when we're doing judging in the U.S., where they've seen that photograph a million times. So how does it look any different than another one? So it's a totally legitimate, description of what's going on. I still stand by the athleticism of the moment. I don't know that it needs more foreground grass. I think if we added more of that, the players themselves would become smaller in the photograph. And I think you need to make the players as big as possible and still show the kind of effort that they're putting into, leaping into the air like this. I'm still, holding strong on this being a really strong photograph.
All right, Gerard, you're going to keep your score locked at 90. Other judges, you're invited to rescore now, please. And we moved a couple of points to 83, silver award. One of the benefits of having such a diverse panel is a diversity of understanding the status quo in images. So it's good to have these voices here for us. We're going to bring Lisa back on, and Mel, you can have a short little break. And let's have our next image, please. Context statement for this one: exploring life on the streets of Sydney using cars to reflect the environment. All right, we have an 87, a silver with distinction, already a strong score, but once again, I feel like we're not going to stay there very long. Gerard, you're on 95, so take away with the challenge.
I didn't realize I was so liberal. There's such a great, thoughtful surprise in this photograph. You know, the fact that the photographer was looking for ways of taking what could be an ordinary moment, somebody walking with a red umbrella, and turning it into something else by using the reflections of the cars in the foreground. You know, that thoughtfulness on the part of the photographer alone, you know, scores this highly in my opinion. So, gosh, it just there's balance to it. There's the surprise of the red umbrella, and I encourage my fellow judges to see it for the strong photograph that it actually is.
All right, thank you, Gerard. Lisa, we might come to you next, please.
Thanks, Chris. Really responding to everything that Gerard has pointed out. I love the geometry. I love the lines. I feel it's a little bit sort of Alex Webb kind of, you know, color and shape and light. Gerard, I feel that we've got the figure there being sort of morphed into the shadow. And I'm not 100% convinced that there's enough magic in this to bring it into the gold. But for me, it's a really strong silver. It's got concept, technique, and it does have impact. But I am listening.
See some nods from the judges, some nudges. I don't think that's what I meant to say. So I think that resonated. Emily, you're pretty keen to make a comment on this.
Yeah, I'm with Jared on this, because the longer I sit with it, the more power I feel that there is actually in this image. This is a moment that has happened. The photographer has placed themselves there. They've waited for this moment. It's documentary in its true sense. It's giving us all of these elements. It's holding us exactly where we want to be held. And the wonder of that tiny little snippet of reflection that we've got going in the car there in the window, just it holds us there. It asks questions about city life, about, you know, I go to the places of those solitary times that we shall not mention from a few years ago, that it reminds me of that, the darkness from the light, the colors and the shapes that are holding us there. So I'm definitely with Jared on this. I'm not afraid to move up. I think this is actually a really powerful documentary image that is deserving of a higher score.
All right, thanks, Emily. Gerard, let's come back to you for a right of reply.
There's this additional moment in this photo that the odds of this happening all at the same time, a guy in a red with a red umbrella and a car going by at the same time, that's the rarity of the fleeting moment that makes photojournalism and documentary photography so powerful, that you see these moments, you're prepared for them. And I just want to reward the photographer for bringing all that together.
And what are you asking for from the?
Please come up to gold. Please come up to gold.
Excellent. Thanks, Gerard. Yeah. You're going to lock your score at 95. Other judges, please rescore. And we've moved up just 1 point, slide of gold. So an 89, silver with distinction. But again, excellent discussion. and a little bit of clapping from Emily there as well. So that's a good outcome. All right, Mark said we're going to bring you back on. Christopher, Ian, you can have a little break, and let's have our next image, please. All right, I'm going to apologize now for the bad pronunciation I'm about to inflict on everyone. Carafok, or Fire Run, is a tradition of Catalonia, Spain. People dressed as devils run the streets in Barcelona with fireworks, recreating the duel between good and evil. And we have an 83, a silver award. And Emily is madly shaking her fist at me, saying, I'd like to challenge, please. So, Emily, you're on 91. Take it away.
Okay, this is a perfect example of storytelling through photography. It is taking us there. We're being held by color, we're being held by the story. But what elevated it for me, because I was really high in the silvers, what elevated it for me, it's the duel between good and evil. And in that last frame, we've got this celebration, we've got this embrace that's happening on that very right-hand side. And that's solidified it for me, because I felt like that was an image that maybe, I'm like, oh, it's just a little bit different. There's something that's not quite right about that one. When I saw that held the story for me. We've got this duel, we've got these moments happening. Every image is a strong image, and that's what we want in a series of 9 images like this. No one image is weaker than another, and it's been captured without fault. Technically, it's on point, and I would challenge everybody to come up with me, please, into gold.
All right, thanks, Emily. Gerard, you had a slightly more conservative score, down on 77.
Yes. Effectively, this is a photo story. And the choice of making so many images on one page makes it hard to distinguish from one photograph to another. They all kind of, in a sense, blur together. You have to blow each one of them up to get a sense of what's going on. And my other contention with this is that with any photo story, you've got to edit really tightly so that you don't have any redundancy of ideas in the photographs. So, for example, the first 2 images, someone's lighting a torch and someone's lighting a torch. And you got to make a decision about which one of these is actually better than the other and use that one. So I feel like this suffers a little bit from loose editing and a presentation that makes it harder to distinguish between one photograph to another. In effect, the middle bottom photograph with the large devil figure, that's the only one that really jumps out on the page because the subject is so large in the frame with that particular image. I think they're beautiful photographs. I think it's a great event to photograph. But when you get into the documentary series, you've really got to figure out how each individual image is an incredibly strong aspect of that story and provides different visions of every single moment. I don't want to discourage people to go downwards, but that's my feeling about this particular series.
Thanks, Gerard. Lisa Kurtz, I'll come to you next, please.
Just a really brief comment. And Emily, we're looking at this. It's a grid. We've got lots of white space between the photos, and it's like looking at a series of images that we've put on a white background, and we're looking at them and a bit like a contact sheet perhaps, or we're just trying to assess which ones we're using. We've got to remember, I think this would have looked more enjoyable in print, because it would have been matted. We would have been able to look at paper and things, paper texture and stock and things like that. But Emily, I'm just in silver because it's exciting and I'm responding to the subject matter. But just these big white lines that are surrounding the photos themselves as a digital presentation, the digital file I'm looking at, I'm not enjoying that as much.
Excellent. Thank you, Lisa. Emily, let's come back to you for a right of reply.
Okay, to resolve the first two images that I'm seeing here, I'm seeing a static moment of alighting, and then we're starting to move into the battle. We're starting to move into the undertaking of all of that's about to happen. And I think we need that sort of peaceful, quiet, more static moment at the beginning, because we do get that static sort of finality, full stop at the end in that final image. I think we're moving through a journey here. And I think that tells us the start and the finish, and it clearly defines that. Also, I think in the scenario of how we're looking at these digitally, I think having that white space around these images, it does give us that space to just breathe in the heaviness of a lot of the blacks. So I think it's been, in print it would be incredible, but as we're looking at these in digital format, I think it allows us that space to move through the images, and I definitely think it's a very strong series of images that is well and truly worth coming up for.
Excellent. Thank you, Emily. You're going to leave your score locked in at 91. Other judges, you can rescore now, please. And the image stays at 83, a silver award, which is going to be fantastic feedback for the photographer listening to this and for everyone listening online. So, Emily, you can have a little rest after that challenge, because that was a lot of work. Even though you are an endurance athlete, you still need some rest. And Mel Sinclair, we're going to bring you on. And let's have our next image, please. Context statement for this one. A steer wrestling competition seen at the rodeo event in 2024, Western Australia. And yes, I am going to pronounce rodeo with a Canadian accent. You'll have to translate. We have an 83, a silver award, and we've got Gerard up on 92. Probably pretty keen to have a conversation about this. Gerard, do you want to kick us off? Gerard is hunting for his mute button.
There we go. The cursor gets away from me. You know, again, this is like a really fantastic sports photograph. It's got that super short depth of field. It's got great action, interaction going on. The fact that he's not quite out of the stirrup, you know, is kind of like speaks to the moment. And then for me, the thing that really raises this up is he's sticking his tongue out, which is a way to lose your tongue when you're doing this. So there's a mental element of danger in this photograph that I think elevates it into a higher category for me.
I don't know what it says about our judging team that when you said someone was going to lose their tongue, they all laughed. So take into that what you like.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gerard. Lisa, let's come to you on the other side. You're a little more conservative.
I was, just very briefly, because I'd like to hear from other judges. Gerard, I really just felt that the most important part of this frame was the person at the competition entrant, and I absolutely loved that. And I just found the rest of the image really unrewarding. And I found myself wishing that perhaps the horse wasn't there. And I found myself not thinking that every element had earned its place. Just handing back to fellow judges.
All right, thanks, Lisa. We might go to a couple more people then. Mark Zed, do you have any comments about this image?
Yeah, I think I struggle with the same points. I keep on going between the red on the horse, the red and the pink on the horse's head, and the pink in the background as well. And I think, you know, just having the pink in the background would have been easier for us to rest on that competition entrant, and even cropping half of that horse out so we're not distracted by the head and the face would have really helped to lift this image up.
All right, thanks, Mark. Katrina, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to congratulate the photographer. This is very, well captured, well handled, nicely composed. I don't want you to feel like we're trying to bring it down, because it is well done. But in terms of being able to elevate it, like up into gold is sort of confident originality, which I'm not specifically seeing here. I feel like I've seen this moment, many times before, even though it is very well captured. So it's on an 83. I think that's a really nice, nice silver award. Congratulations. It's well done.
All right, thanks, Kat. Gerard, let's come back to you for a right of reply.
All really excellent points. I'm not bothered as much by the red that is in the image, because really I go to the interaction between the cowboy and the steer there, and it's that emotion on his face that really carries this for me. And I feel like there's a balance between that interaction with the steer and the line between the horse, the stirrups to the cowboy. I find it really balanced, and then the texture of the dirt everywhere. I mean, if we take the horse out, we lose a lot of the dirt that's flying up all across the image. But in terms of the ordinariness of it, I don't know if I want to address that. Something really terrible has to happen sometimes in sports photography and rodeos, especially, where people are almost kicked in the head. Those seem to be the award-winning photographs, and I'm not always sure I like those, where the danger is so intense that like lives are at risk. But I like the delicate dilemma here.
Thank you, Gerard. You're going to lock your score in at 92. Other judges, please rescore. All right, we moved to point 84, silver award. So congratulations to the entrant. Mark, we're going to give you a little break for a minute. And Christopher Ian, we're going to bring you back on. See if I know how to drive the software. I apparently do. That's fantastic. Let's go to our next image, please. While challenges are taking place and we ask judges to rescore, they have the option to move their score. And they will reassess the image and their score based on the fuller understanding they have about an image after our panel has had a discussion. And we have an 83, a silver award. So pretty even scoring across the board here. Kat, you were bang on the average for this one.
Yeah, congratulations to the photographer. This is a really nicely done image, great graphic design element, great color play and color story, sense of place, light and shade, lots of great things going on, and certainly worthy of a silver award. Congratulations.
All right, thanks, Kat. Now, our next image, it contains content that may be distressing to those who are affected by pregnancy or infant loss. So viewers, just please take care. Can we have our next image, please? The context statement for this is born sleeping. And we have an 84, a silver award. And I would love to have, Katrina, I would really appreciate some feedback from you on this image, please.
Thanks, Chris. This is, this is a beautiful image. This is a lot of intent has gone into this. The circular crop is wonderful. The delicacy, in dealing with our subject here, the placement, the posing is all beautiful. What held it back for me was the technical element. So the really, really bright highlights, and then the sort of the wash of pink that we've got in a lot of the highlights as well. So maybe have another look at this image in black and white. I think it would be doubly as powerful as it already is, but congratulations on your silver award.
Excellent. Thank you, Katrina. Mel Sinclair, we're going to give you a little break. And Emily, we're going to bring you back onto the panel. Could we have our next image, please? There's no context statement for this image. And we have an 82, a silver award. We've got a couple of people who see it a little bit differently. Emily, I might come to you as the higher score of the two. You're on 88.
Wait, am I allowed to challenge this?
You are allowed to challenge this.
Can I challenge this? Sorry, I should have.
Sorry, I thought that's what we were
been-
doing.
Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, all right.
Excellent.
Okay,
Let's
we're
challenge
there. We're
away.
on the same page. It's okay.
Yes.
Um, okay. So this is definitely a higher than a silver award, in my opinion, due to all of the elements that are happening here. We're led beautifully around the image. We've got three people having three different reactions to the scenario that's happening. The square crop is like perfect. We're not getting things in the frame that are taking us away from anything. We've got this, it's just beautiful storytelling, and is so reminiscent of, newsprint, days at the beach, cold days. There's a romanticized element to this as well, and that sheer joy on the little one down in the left-hand side there, in contrast to the side eye we're getting from, I want to say big sister, but from the side eye that we're getting from the other child there, with the concentration that's going on. I think it's been handled beautifully, and I think the homage that it's playing to those, historical street photographers, I think is worthy of coming up into a really solid silver with distinction.
All right, thank you, Emily. Christopher, you saw this a little bit differently.
Yes, I absolutely really wanted to score this high, and I possibly will jump into silver. The blacks are so deep, but I actually enjoy the idea of that style of photojournalism where basically you're not trying for greys, you want the impact of a contrast range which is abusive, almost strong. But the sky does it for me. The sky's a disaster for you, my friend. You've tried to make it threatening and it's just going, but I will come up into silver because the content's strong.
Thank you, Christopher. Gerard, you are in support of Emily here.
I agree with everything she has to say. This is classic street photography. The layers that are going on here, the triangle of action, the way I want to call it a balloon for a second. The bubble is creating this frame inside the frame. The seriousness of the guy who's like creating the bubbles. My only problem, and I agree with where'd he go, Christopher, that it's not so much the sky itself, but that corner of sky up in the upper left hand. It feels like it's throwing the balance off just a little bit in my mind. But the action is such a great anchor in this photo that does that imperfection, live. I'm a fan of like the acceptable imperfection because so many other good things are going on in a photograph, especially when it's a found moment like this. So I'm staying here in the high silvers with distinction. And I think the photographer should be commended.
Thanks, Gerard. Katrina, did you have a comment?
I did, and I'm really glad that we're talking about this image. I'm on 78, so I'm in highly commended with Christopher. And I feel I was exactly the same. I want to love this image, and I strongly encourage this photographer. You've clearly got skills and vision and all those sorts of things. And in terms of to sort of hark back to real street photography, what pulled me out of that is the crop. I felt like it's like you're forcing me in, and the element of being forced also in terms of the post-production treatment of this image. So the way that both of the girls' faces have been lightened, sharpened quite a lot as well. So those sorts of things that I'm able to see quite quickly are really pulling me out of that sort of authenticity and that sort of street moment. I feel like you're wanting more from me than I'm naturally getting. And also just the horizon line being so strongly tilted, again, is really throwing me off. So I'm really glad we're talking about it. The photographer definitely doing some good documentary work. And Em, I'm listening. I don't think I'm going to come up with silver distinction, but that's your challenge. Get me there. I am willing to move into silver.
The gauntlet has been thrown, Emily. Do you want to have a right of reply, please?
Ooh, the challenge. I can see past some of those imperfections simply because of the way it's taking us back to a time, the simplicity of it and the beauty of that. I will address the crop because that's what held me from going even higher. I have a feeling because of this square crop where we're being held so beautifully in the frame by the way we're moving circularly around the frame and we're being held there. I think if we had have straightened that horizon, we might have lost too much. We might have gone too tight. It might have been too uncomfortable. I think it holds us in the frame nicely without making us uncomfortable. I definitely think that this is well and truly a much more rewarded image than it's currently receiving, and I would encourage everybody to move up with me, please.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, Emily. You're going to keep your score at 88. All other judges are invited to rescore now, please. And we've moved a couple of points. 84, silver award. Excellent discussion. I know someone at home is listening to this and really appreciating it. Mark, Zed, we might bring you back onto the panel and we'll give Kat a little break. And can we have our next image, please? And we have an 82 silver award. And Emily's giving me the thumbs up. So Emily, you're on 88 if you want to take the challenge.
Hi, guys. Okay, so I'm not asking for gold, I'm asking for silver distinction. I think this is a moment that is being captured perfectly. If for no other reason than the tension that it is creating in my body and that moment before I feel like injury. I didn't go in higher just because I maybe wanted to see some more reaction in the face. However, we're being held nicely through the linear moments in this image, but we're still getting this great amount of tension and action. We're held there. We're seeing all of the things we need to see. It's a decisive moment that's been handled beautifully, and I would encourage people to move into a stronger silver range image.
All right, thank you, Emily. Christopher, Ian, you were at the other end of the scale for this one.
Yeah, disappointed, very disappointed. What is holding me back is the facial expression, as has been mentioned. But even if I know you can't move, but a moment to the right and you'd actually see the opponent lining up, waiting. But in fact, everything intersects at the wrong spot, the groin of that young lady playing the shot. You've got the opponent at that groin, the intersection of the parts of the net at that point, and the fact that the racket's not even distorted in any way, that the hitting of this or the receiving of this, it's before or after the action's taken place. Her face is on the wrong plane. Yes, there's too many things that are going wrong here.
All right, thanks, Christopher. Gerard, I might come to you for a comment, please. Sorry, just as he was taking a drink, that was very rude of me. I apologize. I can
Look,
skip.
I agree with Emily. Like the action in this is incredible, but also I want to see the expression on her face, and that's the only thing that draws me away from this particular photograph. But the body language and the effort being put into this is really incredible. And with the way modern cameras are working, you can get 29 frames per second. So you have a lot of choices about where that ball is. Excuse me, where the ball is and what's happening with her face. And I think this is just luck of the draw that we couldn't connect with excuse me, the
I'm going to let you.
emotions that go along with it. I should stop now.
I'm going to let you off the hook. I apologize, Gerard. It's not my practice to try and kill our judges, but I've had a really good crack at it. Lisa, could I get you to fill in with a comment, please?
Just reiterating the placement of all the elements. I think every element belongs in the frame. I'm just not sure, as all my fellow judges have said. And I think picking up from where Gerard was going, it's for me, I don't have the emotional resonance. And we're looking, in the silver with distinction, we're needing that emotional resonance and full control of the placement of all of the elements. But nonetheless, enjoyable image, of course.
All right, thanks, Lisa. Emily, let's come back to you, please.
I think she is the hero of our shot. Yes, we know she's playing tennis. Yes, we know all of the things. I don't believe that we need to necessarily see that other player coming across. Yes, it would elevate it higher, but I certainly believe that this is a moment that has been captured so skillfully that it's deserving of a few extra points. So I'll leave it with that, guys.
All right, thanks, Emily. You're going to leave your score as is on 88. Other judges, rescore now, please. And we're staying put, 82 silver award. Congratulations to the photographer, and apologies, Gerard, again. I will never throw to you while you're mid-sip of a drink of water. That was very bad form. Mel St. Clair, I'm going to bring you back on, and Lisa Kurtz, you can have a little bit of a break. Let's have our next image, please. Context statement. Amidst the grandeur of a misty Sydney dawn, modern life plays out, the digital eclipsing the real, even in moments of profound everyday beauty. We have an 82, a silver award. And are we all happy with that, judges? All right. We're going to go to Mark Zed for a comment, please.
Yeah, there's just some really uneasy color quality to that sky here, and I think just by going monotone with this, it would have really helped just to bring it up just that little bit, maybe even losing a little bit of that sky, because the contrast there is just, you want to be held at the contrast at the bottom, not the contrast at the top of frame.
Excellent. Really good feedback, Mark. Thank you. Gerard, we're going to give you a little break, and Kat, we're going to bring you back on. Let's have our next image, please. Context statement for this one. A vendor pauses to smoke amid the chaos of Medan's wet market, a raw, candid glimpse into daily labor, culture, and human routine in Sumatra, Indonesia. And we have an 82, a silver award. Mel St. Clair, you're right on the average there.
Yeah, this is a wonderfully seen moment. I really enjoy the way the man is obviously just lost in his own thoughts in that moment, and the cigarette smoke almost amplifies just how long that moment has been. I think for an image like this, I realize high ISO has to be used in these dark places, but just watch how much you're recovering those shadows. The image has been a bit grainy. So maybe next time I'm looking at a little bit more noise reduction and pay attention to the post and the framing as well.
That's great advice. Thank you, Mel. Let's see, Christopher, we're going to give you a break and let's bring Lisa back on and we will have our next image, please. Context statement. Palestinians perform Friday prayer amid rubble of a mosque destroyed by Israeli airstrikes in Gaza, reflecting resilience, unity, and faith under ongoing devastation. All right. Well, we have an initial score of 90, which is a gold. We actually have 3 judges in the 90s, and we have 1 judge who is on 94. I am going to call a panel mentors challenge for this one, which means we can hear from all of our judges and only once. So there's no right of reply for anyone. And I'm going to go to people in an order that I think is going to be the best and correct value for the image. So I'm going to start with Katrina. Katrina, could you kick this off, please?
Yes, I can, Chris. Thank you. And I'm really glad we're speaking about this image. I was on, excuse me, 92. So I'm quite comfortably in gold there. I think it is absolutely deserving of gold. And I would strongly encourage my fellow judges who are down in silver and silver distinction to consider coming up. This image has immediate impact, both visually and emotionally. And I think that in itself pushes it straight up to the gold category. Before you delve into this image, before you go looking around in Zoom, it has impact. It is telling a very strong story. No pun intended. It is very striking. All of these people are in here. They are all fully invested in this moment of prayer and reflection. They are jammed in right up against the rubble. So it gives us the sense that that they're almost competing to be there. There are so many people wanting to get into this space and have their moment with it and around, the issue and the devastation. Also, graphic design wise, it really works. You've got this portion of color, mix of color, and then, contrasted immediately against the rubble, which is all gray and gives us this sense of, flatness, deadness as such. Not a word, but you know what I mean. Yeah, please let us know why it is not in gold, because for me, it is clearly there. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. Very passionate. Lisa Kurtz, you were a little more conservative on your scoring for this one.
I was, Chris, obviously immediately impacted by the subject matter. And then I did try to step back and look at this as a photograph and the qualities of a photograph. And I always come back to, has every element earned its place in a frame? And I feel that we've got this, to make, for me, it was simply about the crop. And I know that a lot of judges, the first thing we go to is we talk about the crop, but what it means is that we've seen what we feel is a better frame, a better image to tell this incredible, powerful story. And I know that no one will have a right of reply, but just putting out for the judges that speak after me, I just simply feel that we lose the impact of this incredibly powerful image by having the content that's to the left of what might be not a pathway, but the line there. There is nothing for me that is bringing value in the frame. A really tight frame where we're contained in this universe, where there's no way out of this space, would have just elevated even further the plight and reinforce the subject matter of this. So I tried to take my feelings of subject matter and look at this as an image, and a tighter frame would have elevated it for me. But I'm absolutely listening and very open to who speaks after me.
Thank you, Lisa. Mark, I'm going to come to you next, please.
Where to start? Okay, so I'm going to start on the construction of the photograph in itself. There's such a superb balance here, and we have these two leading lines, one leading from the bottom left of the frame up through to that top third. And if we look to the other side of the frame, it's perfectly balanced with that the concrete pillar leading through the base of the what was probably the top floor of that mosque. How the photographers decided to share the space and frame with having just a little bit more weight to the devastation versus the people is incredibly powerful. And it really, it kind of tells the story in such a contemporary way, just through the balance of this. The tops of the minarets, dividing the worshippers from their place of worship. It's hard to describe how powerful this image is for me. Every single one of those people are bowed in gratitude, and having such a public display of gratitude next to the devastation, look, incredibly powerful, incredibly contemporary, and incredibly well executed. And I think the crop is just absolutely perfect. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mark. Mel Sinclair, we come to you next, please.
Yeah, look, initially, I feel like I have underscored this through sitting with it and hearing my fellow judges' words and deliberations and breaking it down. I ascertained I scored too shy, and I'm coming up.
All right, thank you, Mel. Emily, you're going to be our last speaker on this.
I scored it too low and I was well in gold. When we look at what an image that would score gold or gold with distinction, we're looking for excellence. We're looking for an emotionally powerful and creatively groundbreaking image. I am constantly looking at this image and having to pause, breathe, recompose myself, and then re-enter the image. We've got so many individual elements that are happening here that I'm sure my fellow judges are looking at as we move through. I do want to address the crop because maybe it's because of the position that I have in the space where I live and the work that my husband does and things like that. But I see the wing of a plane on the left-hand side graphically. And so I'm almost looking at, an aerial of an aerial, but there's so many other elements that are happening. There's so many stories that are going on. Top left-hand side, if we cropped a bit tighter, there's a worshipper in a wheelchair, which tells us the defiance that's happening here as well, that we are not going to be stopped from worshipping despite the destruction. When we move to the center of the image in those shadows, we've got people in reverence in shadows, which tells us so much as well. We can read so much into that. There's a man there documenting it down there as well. He's getting another take on this, but it's the man on the right-hand side on the rubble in the black that's looking over all of this as well. We've got another voyeur, another person that's looking at this that we could read more into. There's so many elements of this image, and we're not going to forget this. For those reasons, I think it's definitely well and truly into the gold with distinction range. For all of the elements that are happening and sitting with us, the deeper and deeper we go into this image, and that's the power that this image has. And I'm so thankful that we're able to all sit with it a bit longer and talk more about it. I'm definitely moving up. So thanks, Chris, for using your powers of, the powers that you have to allow us to discuss this further.
Thanks, Emily. Judges, all judges can rescore now, please. And we have a 95, a goal with distinction. Well done. Guys, thank you so much for your passion and your caring about images. It really shines through. So shake that one off. That's a big one. We're going to go, Emily, you're going to have a little break. And Gerard, we're going to bring you back on. And we're going to go to our next image, please. Context statement. In the birth pool's warmth, she held her baby close. Their first breastfeed began, surrounded by calm, love, and the gentle rhythm of new life. And we have an 84 silver award. Katrina, you're super close to the average on this one.
Yeah, this is a lovely image. And I really appreciate the sort of the way that the lady's shoulder and neck is sort of, making this undulation like this, like a baby bump, basically. Yeah, beautifully handled. I love that it's in black and white. The brightest part of the image is the baby there, and it takes us straight on into this beautiful moment. To elevate it, I think it's got a bit too much negative space going on. So you could even look at this image. I think this image would be quite strong, perhaps in a circular crop. So have a look at that. But yeah, great use of overhead camera angle as well. Well done.
Excellent. Thanks for that feedback, Katrina. Really good things for the photographer to try. Kat, we're going to give you a little break, and we're going to bring Emily back on. And let's have our next image, please. Context statement for this one. Time to serve up the moon. Exploring life at Manly Beach using low angles and flash.
I have a quick question about this one. In the statement, it says it's serving up the moon. So that's not a ping pong ball?
Gerard, you can keep those questions for a discussion during the challenge, please.
Okay.
Thank you. And we have a 78, highly commended. Mel Sinclair, I might come to you for a comment, please.
Yeah, I definitely see the creative intention with this image capturing the scene as it is. I just feel that perhaps the hand is being overexposed with too much flash or too much light on here, and that's really drawing our own attention to that, and we don't really see too much else. So to the photographer, just control your lighting sources a little better and make it so that that is a bit softer.
Excellent. That's really good feedback, Mel. Thank you. Let's see. Lisa, we're going to give you a little break. Christopher, let's bring you back on. Next image, please. Context statement for this one. Big waves serving in Nazaré, Portugal. Specific of this phenomenon is winter period of gigantic waves. And we've got pretty tight scoring across the panel, 81, a silver award. So congratulations to the entrant. Christopher, you were bang on the average for this one. Have you got a comment for the entrant?
Well, this isn't a blue, clean sea. This is a menacing sea. You've absolutely captured power. I'm not really even looking at your subject. I'm looking at that wave and seeing the energy that it's expanding. You've captured perfectly the moment.
Excellent. Thank you, Christopher. Mel Sinclair, you can have a little break. And Kat, let's bring you back on. We'll have our next image, please. There's no context statement for this one. Emily, just waiting for your score. All right, we have an 86, a silver with distinction, and we have one judge in the 90s. Gerard, would you like to challenge this one, please?
Yes. Sometimes we're forced to go out and hunt for things, looking for feature art and finding something that is strong architecturally, that provides great design, but also shows the rarity of the human interaction with it. This fits the bill, especially with that child lying completely on their back, spread out. So it makes it much more stronger as a photograph than just seeing the soles of everyone's feet. So I just think it's a strong design. It's interesting architecture. It's good light. It's got entertaining action to go along with it.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Gerard. Mark, I'm going to come to you for a comment, please, on this one.
Yeah, sure. Look, I think it's sitting beautifully where it should do in terms of scoring range. I'm happy with that. The fact that we've got this glass bottom, and yet this little one is lying facing upwards towards the cloud is just, it's got this little bit of enjoyment to it. But I think the score is really sitting where it needs to sit.
Okay, thanks, Mark. We might come to Emily, please.
Yeah, I was captivated by this image for the awkwardness of it, but that's exactly what we want from it. How it's being flipped on its head, how we're looking up while they're looking down. We've got these almost film strip frames happening here of each individual story that's being told, of how people are interacting in this space. And I think it sort of holds us there longer. I was in silver with distinction. I'm not afraid to move up for the sheer craft and scene ability of this image, and how there's so many little stories within that, and how uncomfortable but comfortable we are in looking at this image. So yeah, I would encourage other people to come up as well. So yeah.
All right, thanks, Emily. Christopher, can I get a quick comment from you, please?
Yes, I'm looking at a triptage. When we analyse several photos and we say, it would have been better if something was missing. The bottom group and the top group are not contributing. The greys of the middle adult group, fantastic, because they make the children look even deeper black. So I think you've waited a moment, you might have lost the people at the top and the bottom, and you would have got what you got, because the child lying on its back is going to stay there for a while. He's enjoying life.
Thanks, Christopher. Gerard, right reply.
I think everyone's making excellent points. I'm still standing strongly in my gold. I think the rarity of the moment and the vision of the photographer need to be awarded and recognized.
All right, thanks, Gerard. You're going to keep your score at 91. Other judges, you can rescore now, please. And we've moved up 3 points to a very high silver with distinction on 89. So excellent work, judging team. Let's see, we'll have another little quick judge change. Lisa, let's bring you back on. And Mark, you've had a pretty long stint without a break, so you can have a little rest. Let's go to our next image, please. Context statement for this one. A lone surfer at Bells Beach seeking out the elusive wave that could take them to the top of the pro competition. And we have a 79, highly commended. And Lisa, you had a good long look at that image. Can I get you to make a comment, please?
Yeah, look, it's just so striking at viewing distance. It's really enjoyable, lovely frame, and how rare to see a beach without anyone else's footsteps on it. So, it's just a lovely capture. But of course, it is a digital competition. We are able to zoom in. And when I zoomed in, I didn't get any detail. I didn't get any luscious information visually to enjoy this. So it just really, I don't know if it was the quality of the file, but I really encourage the photographer. They've seen it well. Just be really mindful of your file quality, and also to all participants understand this is a digital. It is a digital competition, and we do want the detail and we do want the information in what you're giving us. Thanks, Chris.
Excellent. Thank you, Lisa. Gerard, we're going to give you a short break. And Mark Zed, let's bring you back onto the panel, and we'll have our next image, please. While our judges are viewing images, they can use their calibrated monitors and zoom in to 100%, so they can often see detail that may not come through on the live stream. All right, well, we have a silver with distinction, and we have a couple of people who are waving at me with very friendly hands. I'm going to choose to go to Lisa with the 94. Lisa, take it away.
Thanks, Chris. Wow, things don't we as judges, we look at photos all the time, and as all photographers, we love these. My goodness, what is this image? It's absolutely arresting. Who have never seen a frame like this before? And if I look at the gold, I'm in the top end of gold, and if I read this out, it's excellence, concept, craft, and impact. Huge impact. Confidently original, emotionally powerful, with few, if any, distractions. So please, judges, and Emily, I think you were waving, and I hope you're in my camp as well. Let's get these guys with us, because wow.
All right, Katrina Ferguson, you were a little more conservative with your scoring on this one.
I was at 82 in the silver range, so I'm glad we're talking about it. Thank you, Lisa. And I completely agree. Like, I literally internally went, oh, wow, like a child when this came up. So definitely I'm with you there. I'm with you and I'm listening. What I'm having a little bit of trouble with is just the technical handling of this photo. The file quality, again, to me is a little bit under. Yeah, I don't think it's pin sharp as such. Well, it's probably sharp, but I don't think the quality of photography is there in terms of the probably camera limitations, perhaps, or lens choice. I find that the diver is quite grey and sort of washed out. I would have loved to have seen a bit more contrast there, a bit more punch in the black. And I certainly would have loved to have seen that sliver down in the bottom left-hand corner cropped out. I keep getting pulled to that spot, and it certainly not adding anything to the image. And yes, the brightness of the clouds is also a little bit hot for my liking. But yeah, certainly some impact. So I'm listening. At this point, I'm happy to come up to silver with distinction. So yeah, really give it to me if you want me to come up into gold, please.
All right. I'm going to come to Emily for a comment. Emily, you were in support.
Yeah, I gave it 91. I was well and truly in gold as well. It's an image that sits with us. It's iconic. It's an iconic image. Australia is known for the beach going, sun-kissed vibe, but then there's this contrast of that of how grey it is as well. Like, hello, that's actually what Australia is probably most like at winter at this time of year. But we're not being distracted. We're not being pulled out. I don't feel we're being pulled out. I think we need that little sliver in that bottom left-hand side, Cat, just of the edge of the opera house there. I think that clearly defines opera house for me. I think the crop is good as well. I think we're getting enough of the icons to know where we are, but we've got the perfect placement of the diver falling through this image. And I think where the placement is against that stark lightness in the clouds there, I think holds us there. But then it's the expression on this person's face as well. When I came into it, it's like they're almost, I'm sure they know exactly what they're doing, but there's this like terrified screaming yelp or something happening there as well. And that's what, really brought me up there. We're seeing enough detail in there to see what the expression is. And I think the softness to it, of that grey, I think it is that lovely starkness to maybe what the perceived Australiana is, and what it can, in reality, it can feel like and be like.
All right, thanks, Emily. Lisa, let's come back to you for right of reply.
I won't cover what Emily has said. That was fantastic. And I refer back, Gerard has used this expression a number of times in our session today, acceptable imperfections. So when I'm thinking about Kat's comments about highlights and the crop, I think the crop is subjective, a vibe. I'm comfortable with what Emily has said. I also do see that some photographers may feel that that might not be as strong, but I feel that certainly the acceptable imperfections. But I also want to say that even when you zoom in into the out of focus sections, there is enough detail. It's even so rewarding to see the people walking the Sydney Harbour Bridge. It's just iconic. That every single element belongs here. And I'm just asking my judges, I'm at the top end of gold, so I realised there were imperfections. I didn't go to gold with distinction. I'm asking my judges to come and join Emily and I in gold, please.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. You're going to leave your score at 94. Other judges, please rescore now. And we have a 90, a gold award. Excellent discussion panel. That was very good. Now, for our viewers, both in the judging panel and at home, we have another trigger warning for you. The next image contains content that may be distressing to those affected by pregnancy or infant loss. So please take care of yourselves. And if you want to step away for a moment, please do. Could we have our next image, please? Context statement, first and last touch. All right, we have an 84, a silver award. We have two judges, both on 91. Emily is waggling her finger at me. So, Emily, let's go with you. If you could take the challenge, please.
Okay, so I've got the challenge. aside from how striking this image is and how it can take your breath away a little, there's such a beautiful delicacy and handling of this image. I will preface this in saying that I have worked in a space that photographs babies in conditions like this through Heartfelt. These are difficult moments to capture, and this is someone that has taken it beyond documenting it, and they've added so much more emotion. The simple use of touch is so tricky at this age as well. So because of how fragile baby is. So this is a moment that is going to live long in the family's memory. And just looking at it, maybe I'm reading things in, but you know how you would, I'm being visual here, but you know how you would walk your little fingers across a story? That's what it looks like Dad's hands are doing here. Like there's life there, there's touch, there's all these little moments of emotion that are happening in here, and we can actually see emotion and so much in this child, and it's been handled so delicately and so beautifully, and the crop just holds us there so nicely. Instead of giving us just that full frame, we've got this beautiful panorama that holds us there. So I am really, well and truly very comfortable in it sitting in gold. It's an image that's going to sit with us, and I challenge you to reconsider scores, guys. And I've got someone else up there with me, so I know we're sort of on that path.
You do have support, Emily. Yes. We're going to come to Kat to speak next, please.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Emily. I'm rapt again that we are talking about this this image, and I really want to thank the photographer for bringing us this subject matter, because there's nothing taboo about it. This is respectfully, I say this with all my love and care. This is an everyday occurrence, and I don't think it should be taboo. So thank you for sharing it with us. I really applaud that. What am I on? I'm on 83, so I'm on silver. And maybe perhaps in my attempt to not be too caught up in the subject matter, maybe I've been conservative, but I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't want to just go high because of the subject matter. So I'm listening, absolutely. What's keeping it down for me in terms of award level, the crop. So at the top in particular, I would love to either have a little bit more space or chop into the head so that we've really brought into this tiny little human, that we can really drive us in with the crop into this moment, and then crop out the excess on the sides. So obviously we need enough of the parents' hands, but I feel like there's too much out there. It's distracting me from this amazing centerpiece of this image that is happening, and absolutely the delicacy of the touch and the hand placement, and obviously the narrative, the story that's going on here is beautiful. And this is, this family, this is an amazing image for this family. So I am listening. I'm happy to move up into silver with distinction, but I'd love to hear more to come up into gold for more than just the content, the subject matter, please.
Christopher, you are in support. Would you like to contribute to this discussion?
Well, I'm looking at emotive cropping, but I'm also looking at emotive posing. The child has left mum. It's heading towards dad. He'll never know his father. The way that it's turned in towards the father's hand is brilliant. It's perfect. It's gold.
Thank you, Christopher. Lisa, I might come to you for a comment, please.
Chris, I don't have a lot to add. I'm getting it's quite emotional as everyone around, it's extremely powerful and emotional. I'm with Kat in the sense that I try to judge this as a photograph, and I would only reiterate what Kat had said, but likewise, I'm very keen to come up I'm in the middle of silver, into silver with distinction, because let's be honest, we are all almost in tears. And I think that we do need to reward the fact that this is extremely powerful, with those acceptable imperfections that Gerard has spoken about in the past.
Thank you, Lisa. Mark, do you want to contribute to this discussion?
Only just briefly, what I'm trying to step back out of the emotion of this, and just really trying to address the image for its narrative and overall, visual strength. And what kind of held me back a little bit was the lack of three-dimensionality. I think we've kind of lost a little bit of three-dimensionality by trying to make this image a little bit more delicate than it needed to be. It's kind of is trying to smack you in the face, but it's not quite there. And I think part of that is the processing of the tonality, particularly in the skin of the hands on the left-hand side.
Thank you, Mark. And Emily, we're going to come back to you for your right of reply, please.
Okay. Images are made to move us, and the fact that it has moved us so much, I think the subject matter is emotive, and that's the photographer knows that. The photographer knows exactly what they're presenting us with. They know there's going to be emotion involved. I don't, a highly awarded image is an image that moves us and impacts us, and there's not enough technical flaws in this to pull us away from the power that it has. But I will say that there's just this delicacy to it that is more than the presentation alone. We see all of the emotion, we see all of the feeling and the love that is in this image, and how much this child, there's so much expression in the child as well, and the fact that it is leaning towards one way. There's a craft to how this image has been presented to us, and I think it's definitely worth not shying away from the emotional impact that it's actually giving us. So please reconsider.
Thank you, Emily. You're going to leave your score at 91. Other judges, rescore now, please. And we have an 89, a very, very high silver with distinction. So congratulations to the entrant. Could we have a blank screen for a moment, please? Image, please. Looks like we are going to get a short break. So there we go. And then I'll remember, I'm so distracted that I forgot to actually move the judges on and off the panel. So hopefully we're there. All right. So Backroom team, once you're ready for us to go to our next image, we'll have our next image, please. Thanks, team. Context statement for this one. Behind closed doors, dancers reclaim space for rest and laughter, away from the patron's gaze before the performance begins. Faye and Stacy, Perth 2022. And we have a 79, a highly commended. And are we all happy with that? All right, Mel Sinclair, I'm going to come to you for a comment, please.
Yeah, it's a bold image, and I applaud the photographer for putting it up to us. I feel like the image is a little bit more about the tattoos and the body shapes on the back than what the context statement has given us. So perhaps look at tidying, making those match a bit better. But in terms of the image, I enjoy the darkness, and I just think that maybe a little bit more breathing room on the top of the girl's head.
All right, thanks, Mel. Pat, let's give you a little bit of a break. Emily, you can come back on and we'll have our next image, please. There's no context statement for this one. Lisa? All right, we have an 81, a silver award. Congratulations to the entrant. Mark Zed, I'd love to get a comment for the entrant from you, please.
Yeah, really, the grandeur of this space has been displayed just so beautifully, and the contrast of the swordsmanship that's taking place at the bottom of the frame. It runs through the frame nicely, but just a few more millimeters just to have those feet all in shot, and whew, my goodness, what a capture that would have been. But really well done, and I think it's a well-deserved silver.
Excellent. Thanks, Mark. Christopher, let's bring you back on the panel. And Lisa, you can have a little break. Let's have our next image, please. Context statement. Workers in brick factories in Dhaka work under harsh conditions under the scorching sun to survive. All right, we have an 84, a silver award. We've got one judge in the 90s. And when someone's in the 90s, we know they're really keen to challenge. So, Gerard, why don't you take it away with this challenge, please?
Get my mute button off. I just feel like this photograph belongs in National Geographic. You know, it has that high quality of the way the light is used, the action that's going on, the texture of the bricks behind them. The little moment where the brick hasn't quite been caught yet is a great decisive moment. I just think this is a really stellar photograph that deserves to be in the gold range.
All right, thanks, Gerard. Let's have a look at Mel Sinclair. You were a little more conservative with your scoring on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I scored this an 81, and I did that because I feel like maybe, even though we're talking about a warm environment, I just feel like I need a little bit more cooler tones in the image to balance that feeling down, whether the shadows need to be cooler or whether whether the subject needs to be popped out from his background a bit more. He's kind of really blending in, and that's sort of what held me back. But I am listening, and I am willing to reconsider my score.
All right, thanks, Mel. Mark Zed.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, look, on reflection, I underscored this, and I did, I kind of hit it in the silver distinction because it has that very National Geographic feel to it. But the more I drill into the image and take a closer look, that decisive moment is just absolutely incredible. The dust flicking up in the background complements, what the entrant is telling us by that description. And the perfect sharpness on that expression, which is a perfect expression as well. And then we know where this person is. We've got Bangladesh across the top. The more I have a chance to sit with this, the more I want to raise my score.
All right, thanks, Mark. Gerard, let's come back to you for right of reply.
All right, let's see. I agree that this warm tone on his face blends in with the background, but I get the feeling that we're seeing the reflection of the light on his face and that he's taken on the color from the dust of the bricks, which kind of speaks to the work that is involved here. I just think it's a really strong image. That decisive moment is good. The way the horizontal lines are the vertical lines are working here. I just feel like it's a really strong image.
All right, thanks, Gerard. You're going to keep your score at 90. Other judges, please rescore. And well done, Gerard. We have a 90, a gold award. It's a photographer who's very happy indeed with that outcome. So well done.
Nice.
Mark said, let's give you a little break. And Kat Ferguson, let's bring you back on and we'll have our next image, please. This has a context statement. Kokoda Trail, descendants of fuzzy wuzzy angels carried an Aussie veteran, echoing World War II heroism and a legacy from the Battle of Kokoda that still resonates today. And we have an 85, a silver with distinction. So congratulations to the entrant. Mel Sinclair, you were spot on the announced score there. Could I get a comment from you, please?
Absolutely. The mood and the drama of this is immediately evident, and the photographer should be commended on that. Obviously, time of day is not really something you can control in these sorts of scenarios, but I do feel like perhaps some of the shadows in the background do need to be recovered a little bit, just to give a bit more balance to those highlights and shadow elements.
That's really good feedback. Thank you, Mel. All right, little judge change. Gerard, you can have a little break. And Lisa, let's bring you back on. Next image, please. There's no context statement for this image. And we have an 80, silver award. Congrats to the entrant. Emily, you had a really good long look at this image.
Yeah, this is a well-seen moment, and I commend the author on the way that they've positioned themselves to capture this. A way to elevate it, maybe, I feel there's just a bit of staticness to it. I feel like if we had another figure in the frame moving in an opposite direction, it may elevate it a bit higher, but you've handled this file beautifully. So congratulations on your silver award.
All right, thanks, Emily. We're going to give you a little break, in reward for an excellent comment. And Gerard, let's bring you back on. Next image, please. Again, there's no context statement for this image. And with very tight scoring across the panel, we have an 86, a silver with distinction. So big congratulations to the photographer. Christopher, can I get a comment from you, please?
The brilliance in your composition is there for all to see. The contrast with the black background means every single droplet is sharp. What is actually a little delight for the people at home who possibly can't wear it, if you actually magnify the face, the joy in the face, but it's also slightly blurred voice, blurred capture. So it's actually the force of that moment is captured in her face and her hair, while her thighs, the droplets, they're all fairly solidly sharp. So it's actually giving you a movement through the frame.
It's really interesting analysis, Christopher. Thank you. Mark said we're going to bring you on, and Christopher, you can have a break. And let's go to our next image, please. It's a context statement. I was struck by the juxtaposition of two different worlds this image showed. One world, cold, hard, working to survive, to warm pleasure, seeking abundance. Scores, please, judges. Mark, do you want to get that score in? All right, we have an 82 silver award. Congratulations to the entrant. Probably all figured out now that when someone has a good long look, I like to go to them for a comment. Mark, I'd love some feedback from you, please.
No problems at all. Look, I think the concepts there is a matter of waiting for that definitive moment. We haven't quite really captured that. You know, if we had, you know, a couple toasting in glee up above these workers really slugging it out, it would have really sung a really stronger narrative through to the viewer.
Such excellent feedback. Thank you, Mark. Emily, let's bring you on. And Gerard, you're going to have a little break. And we're going to go to our next image, please. This has a context statement. Suspended time, the start of a 100-meter backstroke heat at the Sydney Open swimming meet, May 2025. And we have an 83 silver award. So congratulations to the entrant. Mel Sinclair, you were spot on the average for this one.
Yeah, there's a beautiful artful moment here in this image. It's so colorful, and it almost invokes a sense of joy just for the elongation of the ladies here. I think perhaps to just make a little bit better, to crop in from the top so we remove that top yellow rail and just keep our focus in the two ladies. But otherwise it's spot on, and congrats on your silver award.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mel. And this is our last image for the documentary category. So congratulations, everyone. Look, I want to say to our judges, actually, I want to say to the people at home, it's such a privilege to be able to have a group of folks with this level of experience, with this level of diversity, that can balance heart and head when they're looking at images like this. The feedback for entrants has just been spectacular, and I've enjoyed every minute of this. So thanks, judges. Robin, over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chris. I absolutely echo those sentiments. Well done to judging panels, and also well done to you, Chris. Well done for mentoring through what was at times a rather tricky category. Very proud of everyone and everything you've achieved during that particular category. So well done. And that brings us to a close of the online section of Judging Documentary. Our judges will now deliberate behind the scenes to establish the top 3 images, and then you can find out who has won tomorrow from 5 p.m. onwards. Tune in and we will be announcing the winners of this category. Thank you so much to everyone behind the scenes, Daniel, Helen and Nathan doing an amazing job, and of course to our amazing sponsors, Nikon, AZO, KL, Godox, Ilford, Photography Studies College and Print Shop. We really appreciate having you on board. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and we will be seeing you back here again at 7 p.m. for the pet and animal category. Thanks, everyone.
Wow, photographing the way I do, but with my colors, this will change everything.
I got to see each frame, each position of its wing, and they're so beautiful that I have never seen before.
Being able to move quickly and working at my brain's pace and getting those shots in the moment. Having this camera allows you to go out and create the way you want to create.
Until you use it, you cannot even imagine what you have missed.
It's something I've never seen before in my entire life. It's something totally different.
Nikon Z6 III. Outperform.
Introducing ISO Color Edge. Precision is essential for any professional working with images. Whether you're an artist, a retoucher, or a visual effects specialist, you need to know that what you see at the start of a project is precisely what you'll get at the end. Color Edge monitors give consistent, reliable accuracy that guarantee no surprises within your color workflow. So what you see in real life is what you see on screen, and what you see on screen is what you see in real life. That's precisely why professionals all over the world trust ISO Color Edge for their image creation. ISO Color Edge. Discover living, breathing color.